What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review, coming out of Long Island, New York. With me today, we got my brother, your brother, B.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
There you go, B. And we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
Yes. 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 Brandon's back. Not all the way back, though. Brandon's not feeling too well. So
I'm getting there.
So what we'll do tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't get B's take on the whole DC thing last week. And B's like our comic book aficionado, knows all the little details and stuff like that. But also in this past week, we got more definitive answers to what's going on with the DCEU, Warner Brothers thing going on. So we're going to talk about that today. And then we'll end the podcast with me and Al's review of Avatar 2 or Avatar, The Way of Water. So let's get right into all the big DC news there, Brandon. Before it was a rumor, we know now it's the truth and what's actually happening, man. We have James Gunn confirming he is not requesting Henry Cavil to come back. What's going on? What did I miss? Am I shaking the camera too much?
No, I was taking shots.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Henry Cavill's gone. Doesn't look like Black Adam 2 is coming out. Wonder Woman 3 looks like it's donezo. Yeah. What else? I think they're saying Jason Momoa is going to possibly play Lobo.
Everything is donezo.
It looks like we are going to shovel and put dirt on top of the DCEU and just go into the DCU is what they're probably calling it right now. Yeah. So there were some calls made, Brandon. What is your thoughts with all the changes and all the stuff that's happening, especially with Henry Cavill being officially out, putting the statement out that he is not going to be the next Superman?
That's not James Gunn's fault.
No.
That's The Rock's fault. That's Dwayne The Rock Johnson's fault. Okay. Let me put that out there. The Rock the last couple weeks, falsifying the data, putting out fake numbers to say, no, our movie is going to be ahead. We're going to make money. We're not in the red. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Putting out fake data and this is crazy because this is a weird thing for me to say about The Rock. I love Dwayne Johnson, is he the best actor in the world? No. But isn't it awesome always seeing him in a movie? Yeah. Most of the time. It's pretty awesome seeing in a movie. Other than Hobbs and Shaw. That was a little, but it's always good to see The Rock. He always does a great job. And The last decade of The Rock has been him really building up his brand, building up a lot of him. And it's always it's never been in an egotistical way. It's always been very cool, but now we got ego and it's weird because it seems like The Rock thought that he was DC. It seemed like Dwayne The Rock Johnson was calling the shots at DC for a while because he thought he could. And so he brought Henry Cavill back. He's the one who told DC, no, we're bringing Henry Cavill back. And so Henry Cavill said, all right, I'll come back. I love Superman. And then James Gunn came and said, he's like, we're not doing that. I'm sorry. And it's not Henry Cavill's fault. It is not Peter Gunn's fault. James Gunn, sorry. It's not James Gunn or Peter Safran. Oh. I was going to say Peter Safran. Sorry. It's not James Gunn or Peter Safran's fault. It is Dwayne The Rock Johnson's fault. And so while it breaks my heart that Henry Cavill will not be Superman, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna do this right, then you gotta start over. You gotta new 52 it, you gotta do something, And I think as much as I hate the idea of this Flash movie at this point, it seems like this is a great way to end it. The same way I talked about the Justice League Dark Apocalypse War movie, and the ending of that movie, everything goes to shit, and so the Flash has to travel back in time and he ends up changing things, and they open up to this new DC animated universe that they've been going on the last couple of years, which is it's been okay. It's been hit or miss with some of the movies, but that's their get out of jail free card. Is the Flash in this movie can go back at the end of this movie and everything wipes clean, and we now have our new DC animated or movie universe, whatever it's going to be. I'm sorry for Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is incredible, but Wonder Woman 84 was terrible. I'm sorry to Jason Momoa as Aquaman, but Aquaman was terrible. And if you say you liked Aquaman, you just really like Jason Momoa.
Brandon came here guns blazing, Al.
I know.
He's taking everybody out.
That's it. And I mean, let's talk about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. I don't even want to see it. I'm going to see it, but it doesn't make sense. And like, let's just talk about how Dwayne The Rock Johnson turned down doing a cameo in Fury of the Gods because he wants to play in the big leagues. Fucked up.
Al, remind me not to put Brandon on the podcast right like after he had an argument with somebody.
So I think
you guys came in blazing.
I honestly I have the utmost respect for James Gunn and what he did with Peacemaker alone. I think that this is going to be a really good DC universe that he's going to make.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I hear and understand where you're coming from. I personally don't blame The Rock for everything.
I
do blame The Rock for being a little overconfident and cocky about his Black Adam when the movie fucking sucked. I can't blame him for wanting to bring Cavill back. We all wanted Cavill back. So it was great to see him, and it was a possibility, a chance to bring him back into the fold. I appreciated it. But like I told Al last week, if you're coming in and you want a 10-year plan, and you have to use all these characters that were already in the nonsense that they've already had, which wasn't gaining any more interest. You can see Black Adam's numbers. Look at the great movie of Suicide Squad. That movie was hilarious, fantastic, and amazing, and no one went to go see it besides us three. So to me, it's like they need to reboot. They need to start fresh and start something creative, because there's no way that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, those guys can't compare to Captain America, Iron Man, and any other Marvel characters we put in place. We haven't got the X-Men.
They should be the best.
Exactly. We got to we have to get away from those, those Snyder cuts and all those different things, because you know what? If you have one of those characters, you're going to ask where are the rest of them at all points. So we got to start fresh and start brand new. It hurt to hear the official announcement from Henry Cavil saying he's not coming back in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, I understand it and I respect it, because this is a new group, a new team that's going to be handling everything. So why not start fresh? Yeah. Al, I know it had to hurt, brother. It had to hurt to hear Cavill's not going to be in there.
Yeah. The only thing is, and I mean, like we were saying last week, I kind of understand it, because as much as I would want to have Cavill come back and have all of them come back, the movies that were getting released weren't bringing people in. So you got to change something up. And you can't at this point just change the stories, because then it doesn't make sense. Everybody goes back and say, oh, but that's not canon and all this crap. So the best way to do this would be to start from scratch.
Right.
The only thing I don't like is that I'm not hearing him commit to that he really is starting from scratch.
No,
he hasn't committed to saying Gal Gadot's gone. He's not committing to saying even Jason Momoa is gone. The only one he's committed to saying is gone is Ben Affleck, but that he's directing, and that Cavill's gone, but we hope to work with him in the future.
Right.
And what I do find interesting is he's also not committing to a reboot of Suicide Squad or Peacemaker, coincidentally, two projects that involve his wife. So
does it look right?
I'm not saying he's picking favorites, but it kind of does look like he's picking favorites. So, but I agree. They got to. I just don't like the way they're starting. He's supposedly starting over. I mean, you're saying you're not doing an origin story of Superman, but you're kind of Batmaning Superman because you're going to do an early Superman who's just starting at the Daily Planet
there.
and just starting as a reporter. So there is going to be some origin because you're telling me that we've seen Superman almost at full power, and now we got to go back to a young Superman who's just learning to fly or whatever it's going to be. So it's kind of an origin story. And I don't know if he's just trying to mirror the success that they had with the Batman and doing an early Superman based on that. But yeah, I agree with what some of these other critics have said. It's like, I don't mind that you're starting from scratch, but you're telling me that you needed to do something new, but you can't do something new without redoing the whole origin. Like, come on, how many origins are we going to have of these characters told?
Right.
So, so to your point, I think he's going younger, because these guys, not that they're old, but if you're doing a 10-year plan,
right,
I can understand why, okay, I want to start a little younger. Not that they are old, but I want younger because I want to stretch out over 10 years of movies. So you're going to have to do origin. And that's the only part of this I don't like is we're going to see all of how Superman and Lois met or the developing of Lois and Clark and so forth. And we've had that already. So I would have rather some kind of a restart, but further along in their stories. And for that, you almost might as well have kept the people you had. So it was a catch-22, and I guess the best way is rip the Band-Aid and just start.
Yeah, start over and see what happens.
But he's going to alienate some fans with this decision because of that. Like, I may not go watch these movies in the theater.
Bullshit.
No, come on. I mean,
it's
gotta be.
Well,
the second you see the Superman trailer, you're gonna be there, Al.
Because if that's the thing, if that trailer doesn't look like Man of Steel, because I loved Man of Steel.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look like that, I'll wait for it on streaming, and I know that's not what they want to hear. So
you're a scorned lover right now, Al.
So you will date again, Al. You will date again. Don't worry. It's going to take some time, but you will.
So that's why I said we got to see what he puts out. I'm not saying he can't put something great out, but I'm hoping it is because that's what it's going to have to be. When you make a call like this, that's like saying when you have a superstar on your team and you trade him for a young guy, that young guy better produce. So that's what's happening.
And
now.
I can't even imagine the actors that they have in line or who they're thinking of to play these roles, because these are iconic, huge roles. And it's like, I think Henry Cavill is probably perfectly casted for this role for Superman, and I can't imagine who's the next person to step into that frame, man, because
and the other two and all of the other characters, I think they were all greatly, well cast. So who do you bring in to replace Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman?
Oof. That's a tough one.
It's like, how do you do that? And
but then again, we never thought Gal Gadot could be best Wonder Woman. We were like, that skinny girl from Fast and Furious? And then all of a sudden, dun, 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 dun.
That's why, the hope is there, but I just, fingers crossed.
They need to keep that theme song, though.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now.
I'm actually all for them going back to the classic theme songs. I think that'd be great.
Oh, okay.
Like, actually, Man of Steel and Flight, the theme song for that, I think is incredible.
Oh,
I think they can keep that. But if they do like what they did for the Batman and kind of take the old theme song and a new one, kind of like smooth them in together, I think they could be badass.
just boom, 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 boom. Oh man. But listen, Brandon, I hear both you guys and even myself. I think you two a little more than me that you're upset about this thing. But at the same time, a part of me is like, not for nothing. The last thing that we can remember from James Gunn is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. A lot of people liked the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm not really into the big Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm not in that like super hype. I thought it was okay. That was really good. But I didn't think it was great. Same thing with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was really awesome, but some people love that first Guardians of the Galaxy. And he's also executive produced a couple of things with Marvel, helping out the other movies when they had the Guardians of the Galaxy in there. Suicide Squad, amazing. So his way of storytelling is pretty well. It's pretty well. It's well spoken for itself, right? Because he does good movies, good writing. Is there a part of you that's a little excited to see his version of the story, though, Brandon?
I'm interested to see what he can bring. I'm more so interested in seeing what direction he's putting on other people to bring to the projects, because he's not directing everything. He's not writing everything either. He's just putting in the Kevin Feige direction into everything, and he's going to oversee it. So I'm interested in seeing, like, based on the projects that we know he's done already, what he's going to do to ensure that these are successful, that they have a balancing story, that their characters are developed, that they have a plot that carries over through and through, and that it's well done across all of these things, because I agree with you, like Guardians 1 I thought was really good, but like I can watch it every now and then, but I'm not going to go back to it all the time. Guardians 2, same thing. But like you, I know people who will watch those nonstop because they love the music, the stories, the characters. And maybe it's just I'm not into that kind of humor, Maybe that's what it is for me. But if he's able to do that with so many people because of those stories, then I'm interested in seeing what he could do with these new characters and their storytelling.
Gotcha. And then he's saying right now, James Gunn is putting out there right now that starting the new year, he's going to release his plan, the plan for him and Peter Safran. And of course, I don't know if you guys see this. It's pretty hard to miss because he is all over Twitter
right now.
He answers every fucking question you put out there. So I'm like, he needs to stop answering so many damn questions. But one of the big things he's saying is he's going to release or tell his plan in the next couple of weeks there, because the new year is 2 weeks away. So with that said are there any projects that you really want to see done again, or done, period, or done for the first time? What is the project that you're waiting for to see coming out of James Gunn and DC?
I really don't know. And honestly, I would rather that he not release this.
Right.
Like, like you said, he's made a lot of movies. He's been a part of a lot of projects. I trust he's going to do something that will probably all well receive. So I'm not too concerned about the quality of what he puts out. And if you're going to give us something new, I'd rather not know what this whole 10-year project is.
Right.
Like, let me see it as you're putting it out there. So I hope he doesn't tell it. But there's one villain I haven't seen done well on the big screen, and that's Brainiac.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a Superman and you're going to take us in a new direction, give us a good Brainiac. Because every version of it that I've seen, either on like the shows or like they've been weird versions of Brainiac. The closest I thought they've come to a good version of Brainiac, or an interesting version of Brainiac, was on a show Krypton that they had on the Sci-Fi Network. I thought that was an interesting take. So give us a good Brainiac. And then, and don't harp too much. I mean, I know it's the central plot of every Superman story is the Lois and Clark. But if you're going to give us a villain on Superman level where we feel Superman really is in danger,
right,
then just give us more of that than try to make it a love story. I mean, if you're going to suck us back into whatever this new project is,
right?
Like, I want to be more of the action and the drama than the love story portion of Superman. Give us that later, but suck us in right now with the action.
Gotcha. I think I know what Brandon's going to say, so I'm going to avoid saying it because that's what I want to see also, Brandon. But hello. But what I will say, because I kind of missed out on the Green Arrow during the WB days. I caught on with the Flash. I didn't see the Green Arrow. And from what I'm understanding, they really made Green Arrow into somebody special and awesome. So to me, I'm like, you know what? They already have a kind of a recipe of how to make Green Arrow. That way they don't have to jump into Batman. I feel like they could use Green Arrow as their vigilante kind of thing until we kind of get tired of Batman from either, the Robert Pattinson version. That they don't feel that urgency to get a Batman up in our face right away. Granted, I know Batman's probably going to be an important part of the plan. Give me Green Arrow on the movie screen because I feel like someone like him would be amazing to see on the screen. So for me, Green Arrow. Brandon, how about for yourself? Brandon, I think I kind of already said it already.
This is easy. Green Lantern.
Yeah, this is easy.
This is the easiest one to do. Green Lantern. And I feel like James Gunn himself would be a great person based off of the Guardians' history of making Green Lantern. It is the easiest thing he could probably do and do it right. And I feel like they could do like a reverse Avengers and have Green Lantern be the one who brings them all together. Hal Jordan especially is like, not only is he a showboat, kind of like Iron Man, but he's also someone who's super personable, who brings people together very well. And so I feel like they could use Green Lantern to introduce Superman and Batman together into a group, like just kind of coerce them into being a group together because they need to be, and then with Wally West as the Flash instead of Barry Allen. So I feel like Green Lantern could be a really great way to start this whole thing off.
Yeah, man, I agree. I really do want to see Green Lantern out there, man, because I feel like there's so many possibilities. And, even though Ryan Reynolds had his version, it wasn't up to par. It wasn't a good story. But I feel like, just like you said, I think James Gunn with the space stuff and the group dynamic, he could make the Green Lantern Corps and make it awesome. So I would love to see Green Lantern also, man. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, listen, so once he starts putting out there what he wants as far as his DC slate, we'll make sure we talk about it right here on the Real Fan Review. So if you are not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page, or if you're listening to us on the podcast app, hit that plus symbol so that way we can come to you every single week, giving you the movie news, movie rumors, movie reviews, all that stuff regarding movies. We always talk about these pop culture stuff. So please go ahead and hit that plus symbol. And then if you have any, how about this? Just like us three, is there a movie that you want to see made into DC that hasn't been made? I keep hearing about the Long Night, Halloween Night, which I think is kind of like what Robert Pattinson's Batman is all about. Is there a Batman show or movie or is there another DC story that you want to see made in real life? Would love to see it. Comment below or email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com. Now, B-Dog, I know that you're not feeling too well, brother, and you also didn't get a chance to see Avatar: Way of Water. We do not want to ruin it for you, my man. So we're going to let you skip out and feel better, man. Take your meds, man. And me, Al, we got it from here,
right,
brother.
Sounds good, everybody. Have a good night.
We'll see you on the next podcast, B.
Till next time.
Till next time, brother. Yeah, Al. So listen, man, you and I, man, we got the opportunity to go see Avatar 2 or Avatar: The Way of Water this past week. Let's get right into it, man. We're going to do a non-spoiler quick review where we just say what our thoughts are real quick, and then we'll get into the spoiler review. So that way we can talk about it for real without holding back or anything. So Al, love to hear what your personal takes were, non-spoiler.
Non-spoiler, it's a long-ass movie.
Yes.
But surprisingly, it wasn't a movie that made me realize how long it was. It was my ass making the mistake of buying a large soda. And then having to go, how much time do I have left? And having to calculate based on what time it was.
Yeah.
Because you don't really feel it. Like it's kind of like the first one, it's the movie goes, and yes, there's some scenes that drag on. At some point I forgot, I felt like we transitioned from a movie into a documentary or some kind of animal of the week type documentary, watching them, just swim around and stuff. So a little bit of that could have been cut out to cut down on the runtime. But the visuals were great. The world looked incredible the way they did it. And, the interactions between the family, which is the main cornerstone of this movie.
Right.
I thought they did well because we're all family. We all have families, we have kids, and so forth. And there wasn't one scene where I didn't understand the logic of why they were doing, given the situation and the scenarios that were playing out. I'm there's late in the movie, there's a reaction. I'm like, shit, I hope I never go through that, but I can understand where that's coming from, like that emotion.
Oh, yeah.
And everything about this. I mean, everybody's complaining about how simple the story is. Sometimes you can have a simple story and have it be great if it's executed well.
Right.
And I think that's what they did here. There doesn't always have to be, 2, 3, 4 twists in a story in order for it to be a good movie. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a straight movie about a man trying to save his family, no matter the cost, that could be a good enough story by itself. And I thought they did. There was only a few things of the story, and when we get into the spoilers, I'll go over it, where I was like, me, as soon as it takes me out, sometimes it's hard for me to come in.
What you say?
As a kid, there was 2 things in this that I found hard to swallow, and I'm like, wait, what happened there? And but otherwise, other than that, I didn't realize this was a high frame rate movie.
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
I didn't know about it until afterwards, when someone was describing why certain images looked certain ways and certain didn't, and it was jumping back and forth between frame rates.
Yeah, because there was a couple of scenes where it felt like it was stuttering, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I thought maybe there was something wrong with the film and it was about to break. And then afterwards, like that, I heard about framing. I'm like, oh, they must have messed up with the transition from the normal scene to the high scene.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, everything was great. I mean, I like the way they transitioned from the first story into this one. Mm. I like the way they have Sam Worthington's character. He's talking about how, because I've always made this assumption where we're watching a movie about with aliens or other cultures, but the characters are all speaking English. So I found it hysterical that his character is like, I've gotten to speak Navi so well. To me, it just sounds like English. So, so now, hence the rest of the movie is in English. So,
good job. Way to take care of that off the top.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, that was cool. So it was like little things like that I found funny, but I was like, you know what, that's probably the assumption we should always have been making,
right,
in movies, instead of criticizing why they're not speaking the native language. But yeah, no, it's a great movie. The runtime is its only biggest, like, Achilles heel.
Right.
If you're going to point to anything out, for me, it would be the runtime. Not everybody's going to be able to make it 3 hours in a theater, but you have to watch this in a theater.
Yeah.
The characters, the scenery and everything is part of it, but that movie experience, watching it in 3D with the Dolby surround sound around you.
Immersive.
Yeah, like we were saying last time with the first one, like, this didn't put 3D on the map, the first one did, but this makes you remember why that became a fad in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. The first thing you want to mention is, of course, the length of the movie is it feels like it's 3 hours in total. I think it's a little less than 3 hours. But then nonetheless, it felt like it was 3 hours towards the end. And I think because I was tired, especially, and I think the movie we went to see was at 10:30 at night.
10:30, yeah.
Oh, Lordy, we got out the theater at 2:00 in the morning, man. And I was just like, shit, I got to be up early. But the other thing you can say about this movie is it's absolutely beautiful. It is gorgeous to look at. There are scenes where you're like, holy crap. You almost, and one of the musts is you got to see it in 3D.
Yeah.
You got to see it in 3D. The 3D is incredible with this movie because the entire thing is like pretty much made on a computer system or it's animated. Mm-hmm. I say blue screen because everything's done in blue, but it's really like they call it green screen. Mm-hmm. But it was blue screens that they were using for this movie because everything's in the water and stuff like that, in the air. And it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's scenes where you feel like you're really like in there. There was a part where ashes were falling. And it was like little things, and I was almost like going to wipe it from my face. There's scenes in the water, because of course this is called The Way of Water, where you're in the water with the avatars and with the different animals, and it just feels like you are in the water, and it's beautiful. There's things you've never seen before in your life. It's so crazy because I want to say you need to see this movie. But a part of me is because of how long it is, and that I didn't really, when I compare it to the need to see movies of this year, like The Batman, not Mission Impossible, Top Gun Maverick, Bullet Train. I compare it to those movies. I'm like, you're really not up there with those movies. You're right below. So you're good. You're really good, but you're not great, right? So for me, it's you should definitely see. It's bordering on that need to see, because it's part of it is, again, like Al said, if you watch this at home, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to see this movie on an IMAX 3D. You got to get those lenses on and just watch it, because you are going to be immersed into that world of Pandora. The story itself, again, where it may be simple, it worked. It definitely flowed through. Again, it was hard for me to get to the end because it was like so long and a little bit tiring. But to be honest with you, I was there for the journey. So I gotta say, I'm in between need to see because of the 3D and the way it looked, but I really think you should see it because it's a good story and something you really should see in the theaters. With that said, there's so much I want to say about this movie, so we're gonna go into the spoiler version. So Al, you're a need to see or you should see. What you thinking?
No, it's a need to see.
Al says need to see.
Yeah, I mean, if for nothing more, like you said, just for the movie experience. Nowadays with all this transitioning over to streaming, movies are being shown in the theaters for less time now before they're available on streaming. It's hard to give people a reason to say, you have to see this movie. And we always say it comes down to the experience.
If it's experience, you need to see it.
Yeah, and this one even more so epitomizes why a movie experience is going to be part of the overall movie enjoyment.
Yeah.
Just on the same level as the story and everything else. So, yeah, I would say it's a need to see and a need to see in the theater.
Yeah, man. So again, I go back and forth between need and should. It's really like a close call. And when I think about what Al's saying, I'm trending towards that need to see because of the 3D, the effects, and you guys got to see what this water looks like on the screen, dude. Like it's insane. So again, this is the non-spoiler review of the Avatar: Way of Water. If you have not seen the movie, please pause us right here because we haven't talked about the villains of the movie, which were not told in the trailers. There's things that happen in this movie that are pretty intense. So we're going to get right into that in the spoilers. So again, we want to make sure that you experience the movie the same way Al and I did, which was just let it happen and watch what happens and not know what's going on in the story to be surprised. Again, guys, non-spoiler. This is for you guys who haven't seen the movie. Al, let's get right now into the spoilers section of this review section where we can get really into the nitty gritty and everything and talk about everything we thought and saw. So let's get into this movie, Al. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, Al, from the jump is because the trailers, again, did not mention who the villains were. They kind of almost sold it like the villains were going to be the other tribe.
Yeah.
Right? The trailers made it seem like the other tribe that was in the water was going to be either the villains or they weren't going to get along. And there was some kind of like issue with that.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, Colonel Quaritch is back. But not only is Colonel Quaritch back, but he is back as an avatar, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So hold on one second. Something's like banging over here, but I'm about to run up this bitch. One of the crazy things is that Colonel Quaritch is in this movie as an avatar, and so is some of his army guys from the first movie. Mm-hmm. And it's the Star people coming back into the fold. So it's a little bit crazy, and I didn't expect it. And I didn't know at first how I felt about it. At first, I was like, why are you going back to him?
Yeah.
But I see why, and it made sense because of the story that they're trying to tell, right? They're kind of like that whole reverse look at the other person going through the same thing you're going through kind of thing. So now he who was against the Na'vi and the avatars is now himself one, which I get that whole correlation. Mm-hmm. But it also made it interesting because he was learning, just like Sam Worthington's character, Sully?
Yes, Sully.
Sully, Jake Sully is in this movie. So it's like everything that the Jake Sully, learned in the first one, now Colonel Quaritch is learning in this one. And it's kind of interesting, crazy. What was your thoughts with that take on who the villains are in this movie?
I thought it was a cool take on bringing him back and bringing him back as a Navi. What I didn't like was he seemed to enjoy that he was now in these better, taller, bigger, more powerful bodies when he spent the first movie hating these guys.
Right.
So there wasn't even like a scene where he had to adapt, where he was even angry about being in this body.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he just like immediately took to it, almost relished that he was now, we're in their body, now we're one of the, like, he seemed to enjoy that he was in that body. And I would have rather there be a transition where he's angry that they put him in the body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the beginning, it's just confusion. And then they show him that video where he's talking to himself and saying, oh, well, if you're seeing this, I must have kicked the bucket or whatever he says. And,
right.
and I know they had to do some exposition to explain everything and so forth. So it kind of worked. But to have had the animosity he had towards Navi in the first one, and he's just immediately happy to be in the body and all right, let's go. Where's Sully? Like I would have expected a little bit more of a story development. Right. And I find it interesting. I don't know if you were picking up on this, but throughout the movie, I was kind of picking up on it. I'm wondering if ultimately, because remember, I think you said he's projecting 7 movies of these Avatar
6
movies.
or 7, yeah.
If the goal is to now have him maybe change over.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were certain scenes where I was like, oh, it sounds like he's like taking to this, like more than.
Oh, yeah. He really enjoyed flying on that damn dragon thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, is eventually one of these movies going to be him and Sully fighting against the corporation?
Absolutely. If not the next one, the one after.
Yeah. Especially since his son is there and I can see them using, spoiler, that's going to probably be something we talk about later, being that there is that character that can help him transition and cause him or help him to want to come over.
Yeah.
But I'm just surprised. I'm surprised they brought the whole crew back.
Yeah. It was all the soldiers. Yeah. All of them from the first one. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was an interesting take. And then, there was some crazy stuff with that when they revisit. I love the fact that they revisit a lot of stuff because maybe a lot of people didn't do what I did, was watch Avatar Part 1 all over again. They just kind of almost like replayed the first one really quickly, hit some of the scenes, hit some of the spots. I thought it was kind of crazy that he found the bones of his old body in that machine still with the 2 arrows in it. That was kind of like morbid and crazy.
Yeah.
But another aspect of this movie is, like you said, is the family aspect of it. And it was, Jake Tierney is, I think, the wife.
Who, Zoe's character?
Zoe Saldana's character.
Neytiri?
Neytiri is it. And they have a family now. So if I'm correct, Al, there was 2 brothers.
Yeah.
There was a little brother or a little daughter?
A little daughter, and then their adopted daughter.
Their adopted daughter, which happened to be Sigourney Weaver's, which they never explain who
They don't explain who the father is. They don't explain how she was conceived. Just that somehow she was miraculously conceived while the body was in stasis or something.
Yeah, right. I don't
Somebody
get that
got
one.
in that tube.
Somebody got in that tube.
Somebody got in there.
Oh my God! There's a freaking who was the guy from Family Guy? He goes giggity.
Oh, what is it? Jesus, you're gonna make
Quagmire?
Yeah, Quagmire.
I thought that was kind of crazy. I think they were trying to imply that not Yahweh.
Whatever the mother,
whatever the Mother Earth is called, or the god of their earth, Iwa, I think it is called. Yeah. I think they were trying to imply that Iwa created this baby using Sigourney Weaver's avatar somehow, some way, which is I can't even imagine that. But
it makes sense based on some of the scenes, though.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that the family aspect was really cool, and the way they developed it throughout the entire movie was. It made me feel something for the brothers and for the characters. I was getting annoyed with the bratty brother.
Yeah.
Constantly doing something or constantly not listening to the rules or to what the dad was asking him to do. Like, dad would be like, I felt like I was like Jake Sully myself because I had that experience with my kids all the time. I'm like, don't do that. Stop doing that. Listen, don't do this or that will happen. And they still do it. Throughout the entire movie, I was getting annoyed with this kid because he kept not listening or doing whatever the hell he wanted to. And I get it. Maybe he's playing the teenager of the movie. But at the same time, like, you keep putting yourself in these predicaments, you idiot. Like, but I did enjoy the family. I loved it seems always Saldana's character as well. I think she kills it as Neytiri and the Na'vi girl that she plays in there. Mm-hmm. And I think her and Jake Sully really play well off each other. But I feel like her character, honestly, was put to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
I can't even recall anything major that she did besides the end fight with the bow and arrows and trying to go after Colonel Quaritch there. But how about yourself, man? What was your take on the family for Jake
I was, given the fact that they made the first one so much of them choosing each other, I was surprised, like you said, that her character took such a backseat in this movie to Sully and the boys.
Right.
I mean, even the two daughters, they played pivotal parts. But in terms of a balance, the two boys and everything they were going through got more screen time.
Right.
At least it felt that way. So yeah, I was surprised that a character of that nature, played by an actor of her status, that they gave such a trivial amount of time to, or made it seem like the character. I'm trying to come up with a better way of expressing this, but like she served him, like he became, like she was the one, that was her planet and that was her home.
Right. And now he's just like super
kept
leader.
Dictating what they were doing.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh no, they're coming after me, so let's leave. I don't want to leave my home. We have to. Okay. Like,
basically, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I was surprised because her character felt a lot stronger personality wise.
Yeah, in the first one.
So to see her so frequently be willing to give in to what he was saying needed to be done, I was surprised.
Yeah, and then I also, with that, like you kind of mentioned already, which is the whole aspect of them leaving their tribe or wherever they were because they were being hunted by Colonel Quaritch and the army team there. It felt like rehashing that first one all over again a lot.
Exactly.
So, and I think that's one of the complaints that a lot of people are having is that it kind of feels like just a rehash of Avatar 1 with some extra stuff. Like, but there's an element still when they went to this new island or new part of Pandora where they found this other tribe where the water people. It was almost like the first one all over again, like the ooh and the ah of where these people live and what they see and what they deal with. It was the same. Mm-hmm. So I do get that aspect of it, but it was a different take on it. And there was different experiences that we got to see. Mm-hmm. We got the children not getting along with the children of the other, clan.
Yeah.
And then we had, them trying to fit in also. I mean, in that, the one thing I have to say is I freaking loved the way this place looked in water. I mean, everything, the visual effects of the water, just like kind of like, it looked like it was right here in front of me, the water. And then every time they dove down, the way that I guess you could say the coral reefs of that area was beautiful. And even their version of the ancient tree underwater.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh my God. It was like, I was like, oh my God, wow. I can't believe I'm looking at this thing. Like, this is incredible. It's right here in my face.
Yeah.
And some of the creatures in there, again, amazing. They have these things that kind of like the flying creatures, but except they're in water. So they're different. Another aspect I liked about the differences in the different tribes there is the water people, their bodies kind of like over time, what do we call it? The evolution kind of changes what people's bodies do, right? So these people who deal with the water and hold their breath underwater longer, their tails are a little bit thicker and a little bit flat towards the end. So it could kind of help them swim in the water faster. Instead of the fingers, they had like almost like the couple of fingers were tied together almost.
Yeah, the webbing, yeah.
Yeah, like webbing and stuff like that. So that was kind of awesome to see. Al, was your thoughts on the other tribe there?
No, I thought it was a good variation on the theme. To your point, they live in water, so they've evolved a different way. Their forearms, especially, I think, seemed wider to help with pushing of the water. Their tails were tailored towards more pushing of the water. And they made a comment about that, like, "Oh, these guys are from the trees. Look how skinny their tails are." So it was funny with that sense.
Yeah.
But they were still but they still had a lot of similarities. The way they cared for the earth, the way they felt that balance and equilibrium with nature and so forth was still there. The introduction of them, though, led to my first issue with the movie, which was once they went there, what was the whole reason for the corporation and Quaritch to still want Sully? Like, the reason they wanted him there was because he was leading the rebellion. Once he left and he was in hiding, what the hell are you still hunting him that badly for?
No, their mission was to kill him.
Yeah, but he's basically taken himself out the picture. Like, I didn't understand the whole...
They wanted to bring him in because they knew he was responsible for killing Colonel Quaritch in the first movie. So their mission was to get him because he basically sold out the humans. So their job was to then get him and bring him back or kill him, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was their mission, and they weren't gonna stop for that mission.
Yeah. But I thought it was cool, their bonding with the sea life and the dynamic of now being above ground and underwater. I thought that was cool, especially when it played out that way in the battle. It was cool seeing the combination of in and out of the water. So I thought they did a great job of showing you. And I guess I don't know if he was trying to relate it to people, different types of people and how we should learn to get along, how, same thing, we have these similarities as a people, but we have a difference in cultures. And that doesn't necessarily mean we can't get along and incorporate each other into each other's lives. So I don't know if that's where he was going with that, but that was something I picked up, like, listen, you may have to adapt, and then they did. Once they learned how to do what they needed to do and so forth, they blended right in. And, I thought that was a good sign to show, like, no matter how the differences you think are, they're just physical. In the end, we're the same. And that got shown once they were able to incorporate into their clan.
Right. You got attacked just like the other Na'vi did.
Yep.
Yeah. And we kind of spoke about that. We kind of said there was going to be themes in this movie that were going to relate to either Earth or people and stuff like that. Because that's what the first one kind of did. Yeah. I feel like this one, it hit a couple spots. It hit that cultural thing and that people are people. No matter where you go, you may have your differences, but you're still one group, right? You're Pandora. You're not here and there. And that's it. I think one of the things that was deep in this movie was there was a scene that really affected me. And I was just like, oh, they fucking got me. Was I don't know what the whales were called over there. They were like these big monster things.
Tukatan or something like that.
Tukatans or something like that. They were part of the people and they kind of attached themselves to people. And I think that's one of the things that Al didn't like, and myself too, is the way that these whales and the people talk to each other, was a little ridiculous. But in one of the scenes is, Colonel Quaritch gets with another team of people of a different company. I think they were there to get it was like a liquid from the brain.
Oh, God.
To help people live longer, or it was the cure to aging, I think it was.
Yeah, because it stopped aging. Yeah.
It stopped aging. There it was. So they were on the hunt for these whales, and the way that they showed the hunt for the whales and the way that they killed the whale and stopped the whale, and the baby whale was around the mama whale. At first I was like, all right, this is crazy, whatever. And then there was a point where I'm like, dude, this fucking sucks. And it was the way they filmed it, the way they took their time with certain aspects and scenes in that scene itself, where it was like, dude, we do this in our world. We do this to animals, where we, look for certain parts of shark fins and whales. And, there's a bunch of stuff that we do in our own world with the fishing life and the marine life there that is like controversial. I think there's even this thing where is it that dolphins are getting killed in a certain aspect of Asia or something? I forgot what it was.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
but it's like there was a part where I was just like, all right, you got me on that one. Where it was like it felt terrible. It felt like a gut punch the way they killed this whale, and it was just like so graphic. And then the worst thing about it was the guy's like, there's so much meat and there's so much different things. All you're taking is this one little canister. So you just killed this huge monster, this huge thing for a vial of this liquid and just throw it back to the world. And like, that fucking sucked.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that one got you out, but that definitely got me, was that one scene there about, marine life and everything.
Yeah, it got me. Like that scene where the kid says, "Really, that's this all of this body, and that's all you're taking. You're gonna get like just getting rid of the rest." Like I that did get me that in that sense, but and it also got me with the dilemma of the situation.
Mm.
Like, think about it. That drug or whatever that is you want to call it, that they took from that whale stops human aging. And if there's one thing every person would do if they could, is to stop aging and find some kind of a cure-all and so forth so that I can live forever.
Right.
You tell people that some whale on another planet has to be killed, and we can get something from them that'll make you live and stop aging. It's a dilemma. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see not that I would side with it, but I can see the ease with which some people would say, well, fuck it, it's a whale from another planet and it can make me live forever. Like, I can see how somebody might say, I'd rather live forever, or stop aging. So I thought that being what they were getting from the whale was significant, because it wasn't like you were just getting the fur and you can say, oh, well, I'm just wearing a coat. That's okay. Really? You're killing an animal so you can have a coat?
Right.
Or earrings or a leather belt or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, but this was something like, I can live potentially forever.
Right.
Like, it kind of.
I'll tell you what, it's better than unobtainium.
Yeah. Oh, please. No, but also they introduced a new plot point, which is that, and this is, I'm sure, what they're probably going to explore in 3, 4, and 5 if they get to it, was that they made reference. Edie Falco's character made reference to the fact that the Earth was dying.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that definitely for sure in there.
So, we've already plundered the hell out of our planet to the point where it's dying. And you've already started doing that on the next planet you're eyeing to come to. And it shows how stupid as a people we are, that, listen, we haven't even learned the lesson from what we're doing to our planet.
We're going to come do it
We're going to go do it to another planet. And I can't.
Yeah, and I find that very interesting, because, I mean, are we saying that the next few movies is continuous military or people coming to, the Na'vi here or to Pandora? So it's kind of interesting what's going to happen, because even as we were, in Pandora, they were basically building a city with these robots. Mm-hmm. They were saying these robots could build a building in like 3 days or something, like 3 months.
Yeah, it was like a month. What used to take a year or something.
Right, and so those robots were going. They were already putting stuff up and everything. I was like, that's pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
And then they cleared it up right away when I said that. I was like, that's not realistic. They're like, well, these robots. I'm like, oh, okay, that explains it there. Yeah, man. I mean, listen. And then the other thing about this movie is the whole aspect of pretty much Quaritch finding, like you had mentioned before, was his son, which that I don't understand. So I guess he had a son that ended up staying.
Yeah, because the son was already a toddler when everything went down.
Oh, and he couldn't fly.
And he was too young to be put in stasis, so he had to stay. Mm-hmm. But my thing was, where was the mom then? Because if he's there as the military leader, there had to have been a mom there to watch him. I'm assuming he didn't just bring his kid for nothing, on his own.
Right.
So, I mean, granted, who knows? Maybe she's deceased or something, and that's why he had to bring him. But, that was like a weak point in order to just introduce that he had a son.
Yeah, but I mean, that was their way of, the Colonel's team to kind of go through Avatar, to go through Pandora, learn the ways and stuff like that. Like, and it was funny because as much as he hated the fact that he captured him, he was still helping him a lot. And I was like, that was a little quick of a transition to be like, and I get it. The guy was just like, either you stay here and they test on you and do all these other things to you, because they did that whole Bucky head thing to him. They're like, listen, if you don't do that, we can go back in there, or you can come with me and help me, And I kind of got that was going to build their bond, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which later influences other decisions that I'm not going to really fully understand either. But, it was interesting to see that, I guess, that connection or them working together was kind of interesting and kind of weird, because it was like, I'm not your dad.
Yeah.
But you still are talking to me. And
yeah.
I don't know. It was a little weird, man. What'd you think of the whole Spider thing? Spider was his name, right?
Yeah, Spider. I mean, I thought he was a cool character. I thought the actor did a good job portraying him. I never didn't understand why he had the bond with the family, or the family felt the bond to him. Like, you could see through their interactions in a couple of the scenes that there was that they saw him as part of the family.
Especially Sigourney Weaver's daughter, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't know if they're going to turn that into a love thing later, a love interest later in another movie. But yeah, there was a very tight bond there. And it worked as a good dynamic for Quaritch's character to have more of a motivation to what I think is going to be where they transition him over. Because not only is he, through just being in this body, wanting to learn more of what his body, I guess, the culture is.
Right.
But his son is already adapted to that culture.
Right.
Has already embraced that culture and can help him is helping him transition over and learn how to speak their language, how to do the stuff that it's like the son taught him how to go and get that banshee or whatever that animal is. So I thought that was a cool dynamic with the father and son, even though they kept insisting, I'm not your real father. Your father's dead. I'm just a clone or whatever. But you can't fight that, the feeling that your memories up until that point is that was your son.
Right.
You may realistically know, well, I'm not the same person, but
you still have those thoughts, which can affect those feelings. Yeah,
exactly. Which is what we see play out later in the movie. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic to bring into this movie.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because, again, the movie, as long as it is, it really had two central things going at the same time. It was watching the Colonel try to go after Jake in any way he could by either capturing the kids, using them as bait, or kind of trying to find them and everything he could do to get them. And then the other aspect is Jake Sully and his family trying to find a way to get away from the Colonel to avoid all the issues and all the things, which will eventually lead to them finally catching up to each other. The thing with the whale is part of the plan that helps them capture the sons. I think he captured actually the whole kids, all the kids except for one of the sons.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
the spoiled kid is the one who kept getting away. But what cracks me up is the daughter when she goes, "How did we get captured again?"
Yeah, because you keep following that brat. That's why. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a game of cat and mouse the entire movie, which was like the kids would get away, or Jake would get away, and then it was just a little. Again, it felt like redundant because it kept happening throughout the entire movie. And again, that's what the basis of the two movies was, how the Colonel ends up getting to Jake Sully. So he captures the kids now. And this is how we get towards the final scenes of the movie, is because of this capture. It's the rescue of the kids now and everything. And he tries to convince Jake Sully to go by himself and all these different things. And there's this big battle on, is it one of the big, like it was that ship that the fishermen were on, pretty much. That pretty much it was a huge base that was a floating base. And there was a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of fight scenes, a lot of little things going on, but nothing like that really stood out besides the fight between Colonel Quaritch and really not Jake Sully, but Taineri's character, or Zoe Saldana's character, really being upset about the situation
Mm-hmm.
And, we get to this big scene where one of the kids ends up getting shot trying to save the family or save the kids. I think it was the older brother?
The eldest son, yeah.
Yeah, the eldest son. And which leads to, the kids again getting captured. It's just like, it was constantly like the kids get captured, Jake comes in to help, then the kids get away, the kids get captured. It was over and over, and including in this last scene. And now this boat or this big, huge base is like basically going underwater because of all the damage that's being done and all this stuff that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know, it was a lot. The ending was a lot.
Yeah.
The one thing I did like about the ending, though, Al, was the shout out to Titanic. Like, the family swimming underwater and all this stuff like that. Because even the fight between Jake Sully and Colonel Quaritch, it was okay. Nothing really special happened between the fight. I think actually Taineri had a better fight with Colonel Quaritch than Jake did. What was your thoughts on that, like the ending fight sequence and stuff? Because I felt like it was just a lot of stuff just happening all over the place.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, like you said, it was the Titanic boat sinking scene all over again.
Right.
You had the climactic battle wasn't between the two of them. It was between him and the family. I felt like because he fought Sully, he fought the brother, he fought the Neytiri. So he was fighting each one of them at different times, antagonizing each of them at different times. So, it was not Quaritch against Sully. It was Quaritch against the Sullys. So I thought that was an interesting way of playing out the climactic battle at the end. And, again, the family's just sticking together, everybody bringing their strength to help win the battle, so to speak. And, I find it interesting to see how things are going to play out given that Spider and his decision. Because after we think Quaritch is taken care of, you see Spider come in and return the favor because earlier Quaritch had spared his life.
Right.
So now, he returns the favor because, it's still in his mind. It's his dad. So I want to see how that decision plays out because Spider doesn't turn and all of a sudden, I love my dad. He spares him because he's his dad, but he still runs back to the Sullys because that's his family. But it'll be interesting to see how that decision and the effects of it plays out over the next couple movies.
Yeah, and this leads to something I wanted to ask you in the theater, but it was so goddamn late out. I just wanted to go to bed. It was one of the things that shocked me was Taineri's, I don't know if it was a game, not the game, but like a move just to see what Quaritch would do. But she basically like threatened Spider's life. She even was like a son for a son, basically, because she wanted to kill Quaritch. But she only had his son while Quaritch had his other son. And she actually scratched with the knife Spider on his chest. And to me, I'm like, if I was Spider, I could never look at her the same again.
No.
But he went back to the family and it was like everything was all good at the end. Like they were all family laughing it up and then doing all this stuff together. But a part of me is like, dude, I'm going to remember that. And I think that's like a seed that they're dropping for the next one or a fourth one is the fact that she actually, was slicing him up and put him up for like, I'll kill him if you touch my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're not family if you could do that to me. You know what I mean? Like this is, I don't know. What was your take on that?
It to my point, like I can understand where she was coming from. Like, when her son dies, and you hear that scream, like,
oh yeah, that was
kid.
That was,
I think that's a scream any parent, because they always, like a parent should never die before. A child should never die before their parent. So to have her witness it and see him, die, and then now you're facing the person who killed him, and you have his son in your hands. I could see someone blanking out and forgetting that connection. They just know I can get you back. You took my son, I can take. And as much as you may want to say, well, she's raised him like her son for this and that.
Right.
But in that second, all you're thinking about is you're remembering that that's his son.
I don't know, man.
And I like the fact that he did that scene in a way so that you can argue both sides endlessly, because you can say, "Oh no, she raised the boy. That she knew who that was. There was no way she was going to kill Spider." But at the same time, I could see her blanking out. Kid, her son.
Listen, if you
her
ask
son
me,
was dead. Just got killed 15 minutes ago, and she's
yeah,
got the
and
man
then
who
now
killed
he's
him.
holding the other one.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't." And Quaritch even was gangster with it. He said, "Don't make me don't lose two in one day." You know, like it was nuts. Dude, let me tell you something. If I had to put money down, she was going to take Spider out.
Yeah. So
you know
that's what I'm
I mean?
saying. You can argue that all day, and both people would have a valid argument.
Mm-hmm.
But kid, you put me in that situation. I think I'm blanking out.
I got you.
Yeah, kid. You killed mine, and now I got your. Yeah, kid. Good thing, thankfully, hopefully, I'd never be in that situation. But I can, in that scene, given those content, I can see her blanking out and saying, "Yo, like you said, you killed one of mine, and you have my other one.
Right?
You think I'm not going to do this to yours?"
Just nuts, man.
Yeah.
You know, and again, we get the whole, like, you know, again, we think Quaritch is down and out, you know, but then Spider saves him. The whole base kind of flips around, and kind of like I said, like just like Titanic, kind of looks like it floods in and then it inverts and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just, I thought Jake Sully was going to lose it or die in this movie, but, he gets saved by the bratty son. Bratty son is now seen. I see you. I see you. It's about time he sees his son. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because but at the same time, as a dad, I get it. When you constantly repeat yourself to stop doing this dumb shit and you still do it, it's like, dude, come on. Now you just got your brother killed with your dumb antics. But I don't know, man. Again, the ending was cool. I like it, and I see that there's space for the movie to grow. Right? There's the space for Quaritch now to come back, and I completely agree with you. I think Quaritch is going to come and revert back, and eventually him and Jake Sully are going to work together, or Jake Sully's going to die, and then he's going to help up Tip Neary. Something's going to happen in that effect where he's going to do a switch around. I really don't know where they're headed with all of this, besides the fact the little nuggets that they drop, like Earth is dying. So I can see more Earthlings coming, more star people coming. I'm wondering if there's other aspects of Pandora we haven't seen. Maybe there's another tribe that we haven't met yet that's dealing in the desert or something. Yeah. But the water people were amazing. The Na'vi, we didn't see much of them besides the beginning of the movie. I could say I'm looking forward to a part 3. Yeah. I could definitely say that because this was, again, if what he did in the last 13 years with the visual effects, I mean, his visual effects are by far the best I've ever seen. I mean, when you sit back and relax and realize that this whole movie is basically built on a computer system, there's actors in there with the green screen, blue screen, whatever you want to call it, but pretty much this whole movie is not real. Like this shit is incredible and crazy. I can't wait to see what he does with the next one. I mean, and he's already made the next one. It's just a matter of time for it to release.
But it's crazy. I think he's not releasing it for 2 years.
I think he's going to let it wait. He's going to let it marinate 2 years or a year or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But how about yourself, Val? You're in it for a third one?
Oh yeah, kid. I mean, just the way that ending scene was ridiculous. And you gotta figure that's only a battle. And the way they ended this one was implying that the war is going to come. Because even the Water Clan was like, yo, no, this is our home. You one of us now. This is where we have our fight. Because remember, Sully was ready to leave again.
Right.
And they said, no.
His mind. He said, you know what?
You're one of us now. And we fight now. We fight here. Right. I was like, so now that actually leads to my other problem with that ending battle. You had the Sullys and the Water Tribe show up together. The battle starts. Where the hell did the Water Tribe go? Because all you see are the Sullys fighting. Where the fuck did all these Water Clans people go? Like they just disappear.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing a part 3, man, and I'll give it up to the man. And James Cameron again did it, man. He made an incredible story. I'll say it was well written. I mean, think about it. For a 3-hour movie, yeah, it felt long because it was long, but not for nothing, man. I was entertained throughout the entire thing, and I was into it. Everything had a purpose. Everything had a purpose. Like you said in the beginning, Al, there's things that could have been cut out. Definitely. We didn't need to experience the water all that much. There was a lot of talking to animals and all these other things like that. Like they could have cut half of this stuff out, but I get it, right? For us to be invested in those whale animals for that scene where the whale animal gets killed, we have to be introduced, know what they are, what they mean to the people. And it just like, again, everything had a long game to it pretty much. So again, listen, I go back and forth. Even like talking about it now, I realize there's certain things that I'm like, I really liked and I really didn't like that. So it's still, again, I'm on that borderline of need to see and you should see. Bottom line, guys, go get your tickets. 3D. Gotta go see it, man. And I don't know, Al, any final takes on the movie?
Nah, like I said, it's a great movie. The more we talk about it, the more I remember scenes that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I'm still sticking with that. For me, it's a great movie. You need to see it in the theater. And I just look forward to seeing where they go with this. Do they stay on Pandora?
Right.
Do they take it somewhere? Do we go somewhere else?
Well, I think James Cameron was being interviewed and he said Avatar 5, they go back to Earth.
No.
so let's see the Na'vi get into spaceships.
Oh, geez. That would be crazy.
Right. So
nuts. Man. Yeah.
But yeah, listen, very interesting. Guys, go check it out. Go see the movie. And what did you guys think of the movie, man? I mean, if you guys saw the whole thing and you want to talk about it, again, you got the comment section down there. You also can email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com and let us know what you guys think. We're looking forward to the next one. We want to see Avatar 3, whatever they want to call it. And I can't think of anything else like Into the Fire, so like, because the next one, like Al said, is going to be a war. So it looks like it's going to be a big battle. I guess one last thing, Al, what do you think of the series so far? Is it the sci-fi epic that you think it should be, or is it just a really good epic story? Is it, because I feel like it's more Dune than Star Wars?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's Star Wars, because it feels like it's trying to be like a Star Wars, like create this whole big story. But I'm not there yet with it.
No, it's more of a like a Gone with the Wind, where it's just long and a long drawn out story than a lot of action in there. Yeah. So but it's good. Like I said, I was entertained. I mean, I felt like the action was appropriate based on the story. Like I felt like if he had forced more action scenes in there, it wouldn't have gone well with the way he was telling the story. Now 3 is where I'm expecting a lot. So we'll see how that one plays out.
All right. So we'll see what's going on there with that then. And listen, that's going to be us for tonight, man. This is the Real Fan Review here out of Long Island, New York, saying good night. We got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
And myself, Hav, saying good night. And listen, next week's episode, the last episode for 2022, we're going to get into the movies for next year. So, all these movies that are coming out for 2023, summer blockbusters, the horror movies, the action movies, the adventure movies, and kind of get excited for what's coming in the next couple of months there. So
yeah, 2023 is going to be a busy one.
Oh yeah. Finally, I think we're getting back to all these movies coming back out again. So it's going to be a huge year. We'll talk about next year's movies. Come back to see us on the Real Fan Review Movie Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one. Till next time.